Well, hello, ARTC150. This is Professor Craig Case just checking in and just want to share some thoughts as we head into week 4. First of all, I want to commend each of you on your work in your plans for your museum tour and also your selection for the close reading. And I enjoyed looking at your choices, and they're just solid. So good work there. Also read each of your forums, and although I didn't comment because there's so many, I read each of them, and again, just really salient points and good responses to each other. And each of you right now are tracking very well in this course. So if you have any questions, again, please feel free to call me, 651-395-1891, or email me. And also just wrapped up the grading for the comprehension quiz from this week number 3, and you guys are doing really good improvements since the first quiz. And I know as adult learners, quizzes aren't the easiest, and they can be trying, but this latest quiz in week 3 was phenomenal across the board. As we look at week 4 and what's coming up, you're going to have your group application assignment in terms of selecting a free verse poem, and then also a painting or sculpture. And the second week, it was really fun to read your responses to that assignment. And I think what you're going to find in week 4 here, looking at poetry, and I mentioned before that I was an English lit major. My actual specialization was in poetry, and I also took 2 years of Latin. 1 year of that was in Latin poetry. And what I appreciate and value about poetry is that it really brings our imagination into realms, into areas that we wouldn't otherwise think of. And also what I like about poetry is that a poet accomplishes a lot in a small amount of words. And because of that, words and terms and phrases are loaded with meaning. So I hope that you enjoy this upcoming assignment, and also your museum tour as well. And I think over half the class is planning on going to MIT, the Minneapolis Institute of Art, which I absolutely love. In fact, I went to the Martin Luther exhibit a couple months ago, and it's one of my favorite places to go in the Twin Cities of what MIT does and their different exhibits. It's just one of my favorite places. So hope you have a good week 4, and I just want to close out this time with Psalm 23, probably the most well-known psalm of people, whether Christian or non-Christian. It's probably maybe next to John 3:16, the most known passage in the Bible, and it's, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want," or "I shall not be in need. He leads me to green pastures and still or quiet waters. He restores my soul." I want to close right there with those 3 verses, because right there we learn a lot about who God is, that He's a loving shepherd. And there's 4 things that have to happen for a sheep to actually lie down in green pastures and beside still or quiet waters. They can't have any friction. There can't be any friction between them and the other sheep. They have to get along. Also, there can't be any flies. If there's any parasites or flies, they will not lie down. Also, sheep need to be free of fear of predators, fear of wolves or perhaps attacks. They have to feel completely safe in order to lie down and actually be still. And the last one is that they have to be fed, the 4 F's. And it comes from a book by a former shepherd, now pastor, named Philip Keller. And if you think about that in our own lives, how that applies to each of us, that God is our shepherd, and sheep is a very, very well-known metaphor for humanity in the Bible, if not the most known and most mentioned metaphor. And you think about those 4 F's and how they apply to our lives, that we need that as well for us to be at peace. So I pray that this week, week 4, is a week that you experience the peace of Christ, the peace of God, and to know that He is your shepherd and you can fully depend on Him. Have a great week. Take care.